Reggie Miller, man, I didn't know her before this, but I know her now. Everyone at this table, I just want to give a special thank you to, but really, I say this all the time, this would be dead in the water if it wasn't for the support of the community, let's be honest. It starts with the community, and if they get loud enough and they unite, then we get the attention of everyone else. And so this really is because of you guys. I have never seen a community mobilize the way that it has, so I wish I knew everyone's name. I thank you all individually. But specific people too, Therese, Chris Donley, everyone here in this room has made such a big impact, from the billboards outside to the noise. All that stuff takes money too. And they're paying for this because they care. So thank you guys so much. But during this process, you heard his name today. He's faceless because he doesn't like social media. And so anyone who's a part of the Facebook group, Michigan Against Atomic Waste, you don't know his name, but what you should know is he's been fighting this for so many years. One of the most knowledgeable people I have ever met about this, who's really shed the light on everything I know, is sitting to the right of me, Andrew. I know I'm probably not supposed to do this, but this guy has filed a 60-page complaint to the EPA about this years ago, before it was even something that the community knew about. And I just want to thank Andrew, because it's the silent heroes in the back that do all the work, that take my calls, that help put things into layman's terms for us, that really make the biggest difference. So thank you so much. I can talk a long time, so I'm going to read my notes from my phone, because I think I'm going to try to be within my time as much as I can to provide you guys updates. So, okay, thank you, Reggie. I definitely will rush it, so I'm going to read my notes. Okay. So I said my thank yous, but as you guys know, the similar bill was proposed last year. I watched it struggle through the committee, through the Senate, through the House. We were making videos for people across party lines just to try to get their attention. We were tagging them on social media, and we did it. We really did it, and I'm so proud of us for doing that. But to feel the struggle, it was deeply disturbing. It knocked me down a little bit, I'll be honest, because I thought this was a no-brainer for the entire country. We just don't care about party lines. And this time, this fight will not be lost to politics. So now I want to walk you through a few key components of what came out of the courtroom. So we're in the middle of a court hearing challenging radioactive waste shipments from the Manhattan Project, as you guys know. The cities of Belleville, Romulus, and the townships of Van Buren and Canton are suing Wayne Disposal Incorporated. And in just 2 days of that testimony, the evidence has confirmed what I think all of us feared. We learned that Wayne Disposal began accepting radioactive waste as early as 2006. Conversations to accept waste from the remediated cleanup of the Manhattan Project began in 2010. And shipments started arriving 7 years later in 2017. Now here's the jaw dropper. In 2014, and remember 2010 the conversation started, 2017 they started coming, but in 2014 Michigan released a white paper guide to guide radioactive waste policy, but it never considered the waste from the Manhattan Project cleanup. One of the witnesses in the courtroom, her name was Dr. Kimberly Kirchhoff, a professor of nuclear engineering and a member of the advisory panel that developed our current T-norm guidelines. Guidelines meant for oil and gas waste, like fracking byproducts. Under oath, she was asked why the radioactive waste from the Manhattan Project, which is more dangerous and entirely different from fracking waste, wasn't considered when they created the policy for our entire state. Her exact response, and I quote, was, "It just didn't occur to us."
Oh, that's big.
Now, I don't blame her. She was a witness for us. I don't blame her at all. But this is what happens when policies are created in the dark. She should have known about that. EGLE and Republic Services, remember, had that conversation in 2010. Why were the people who were creating our policy not informed? No one imagined Michigan would become a dumping ground for one of the darkest chapters in American history. So let's pause on that. The state developed its radioactive waste policy without considering the radioactive waste they were already planning to accept. That's not oversight, that is negligence. Let's be clear, even more clear. In 2012, over 450,000 tons of T-norm has been buried at WDI. And yet when the public asked for answers, we were told everything was safe, we were told it's within limits, and we were told essentially to sit down in this room right here. But in the court, the truth started to come out. In the court, the defense claimed the public was properly informed. That's what they said in the courtroom. But then came a moment that I think shocked everyone in the courtroom. The defense presented a billboard-sized version of a so-called community notification list that no one in that courtroom had seen. Not even the public, not our attorneys, not even the judge. It was introduced as if they'd always been part of the record, but it hadn't. So our legal team immediately demanded to review it, and the judge, visibly irritated, questioned why it had never been disclosed. The most alarming part, this withheld document directly addresses the very issues our communities have been raising from day one, the complete failure to properly notify us. It happened in that courtroom. It would almost be laughable if it wasn't so insulting. And here's another laughable statistic that came from that courtroom. A Public Service official testified under oath that the landfill liners would last for 2,000 years. 2,000 years. As if plastic liners can outlast entire civilizations. Anyone familiar with landfill technology knows how reckless that claim is. Liners fail, groundwater moves, waste migrates, and radiation does not care about their timeline. Speaking of failures and issues, another pivotal moment in the court came when the defense mentioned a leak. The defense mentioned a leak on their premises. At first, they confused the leak with Wayne Disposal Incorporated. But it was later clarified that that leak happened at Michigan Disposal. Most people, and even some in the courtroom, didn't fully understand the relationship between Wayne Disposal and Michigan Disposal Waste Treatment Plant. Now it's important to note that up until that point, the defense emphasized that radioactive waste sent to Wayne Disposal had very low concentrations, so we shouldn't be concerned. They made the judge believe that specifically 50 picocuries per gram or less, wasn't a big health risk to us. And they had that entire narrative of it's only 50 picocuries per gram the entire time. But here's what is critical. When they confused it with Michigan Disposal Waste Treatment Plant, Michigan Disposal is within the same footprint of Wayne Disposal. It's just a different business entity, and they operate under different business rules. Michigan Disposal can accept radioactive materials with no radioactive concentration caps. So, what do? They downblend it, and then they walk a few steps over and bury it permanently at Wayne Disposal. We did not talk about that. We thought we couldn't talk about this Michigan Disposal Waste Treatment Plant. We knew about it, but we didn't think we could talk about it because their name was not in the lawsuit, but they opened it up when they confused and blurred the lines. I mean, the lines are blurred, honestly. The place is right within the footprint, so I understand why they blurred the lines. But when they made this mistake, we were able to ask further questions about Michigan Disposal. And when we did, the judge was flabbergasted, those were his words, that this had not been disclosed earlier. They're not just burying waste under 50 picocuries per gram, which despite their downplaying is still not considered safe. They're also mixing it to pass the test. This was admitted in court. This is manufactured compliance, not true safety. We believe EGLE knows, Public Service is certainly aware, and as for the EPA, who knows where they stand. But when we directly asked how radioactive the T-norm shipments are, no one had an answer to it, so we filed a FOIA. Because if they won't tell us, we'll figure it out on our own. I'm almost finished here, so stay with me here. Then came along another alarming admission from the defense. They acknowledged that radioactive materials exceeding 5 picocuries per gram legally classified as T-norm can also be disposed of in solid waste landfills. That means we now have to start asking how many landfills in Michigan are quietly accepting radioactive waste. Because unlike some states, our landfills aren't tucked away. They're wide open and often right next to neighborhoods. This matters because some cities that feel far removed from hazardous waste landfills may not have felt the same urgency that we do, but after this admission, they absolutely should. I don't have time to talk about all the details in the courtroom, but we are requesting documents, and once we have them, they will be released on our website. Now I want to pivot to discuss this movement. This movement, these changes, they didn't happen because we were passive. They happened because mothers, fathers, scientists, community leaders, we got loud. We started digging, we made phone calls, we held town halls, we built pages, we forced transparency in a system that depended on our silence, and now finally we're being heard. That's unity. The power of everyday people refusing to back down is what brings us to this moment. So I think it's important to talk about the fact that, and I'm almost finished here, and I've considered saying this, but I feel like it needs to be said. We live in a country that's so divided that family members have stopped speaking over political labels or party labels. Let's be honest, the tools of division were never really about understanding someone's moral compass or the intentions of their heart. They exist to keep people from uniting, because when people come together, things change. People get held accountable. That's why it's so powerful to see Republicans and Democrats standing side by side in this fight. That unity is exactly why we're here today, and I truly believe that that unity is finally moving the issue forward. That's why Senator Camilleri's bill matters. It's not just a piece of legislation, it's the people's voice demanding change. But if I'm being honest, it's not enough, and I'm sure Senator Camilleri knows that, because this bill doesn't shut down WDI, it doesn't regulate Michigan Disposal Waste Treatment Plant, and it doesn't fix the loopholes, and it doesn't stop the radioactive waste shipments that were already here. But it's not the end, it's just the first move. It's a good move, because doing nothing means accepting this as normal, and nothing is normal about this. Nothing is normal for public safety to be treated as an afterthought based on guesses and corporate assurances. EGLE is acting more like a permitting agency for industry than a watchdog for public health. And we all know a site like this would never be placed in one of the most densely populated counties in Michigan if protecting people came first. There were no warnings, this is poor monitoring, and the people living nearby were never given a choice. It's not normal that emails from 2014 show EGLE discussing the waste with Republic Services, but the public wasn't notified until 2004. It's not normal that the corporate profits continue to outweigh public health. And if you're in this room and you're wondering what you can do, let me tell you this, continue to show up. These companies are counting on our fatigue. They're counting on you guys to give up, and please don't. Speak up, call your local officials, ask the hard questions. On our website, I have scripts that you guys can even use to reach out to your local officials. And so don't stop asking until they answer. It's our health, it's our wealth, our children, our legacy, and they deserve better than what we inherited. And again, to the Senator and Reggie Miller, thank you for opening the doors, but we are walking through with demands, not just gratitude. And to the community, thank you guys so much for your courage, because this movement is only strong because of you guys. We wouldn't be here if it's because of you guys. And to those in power, I know they're probably not here, maybe you guys are. We see you, we're informed, we're organized, and we will not be silent. And with that, I will pass it over to Rep. Miller.